young men, I'm not trying to alienate our female listeners out there, but young men need to feel like they can talk about their emotions, and that we've been brought up in a society, and we'll go on to this more later, where young men feel like the only way they can emote is through anger. And that's like the only socially acceptable way to communicate or respond to difficult things that happen in your life. We're here, as well as a lot of positive movements out there that are saying, no, all right, that's just not the way we need to do things anymore. Young men out there listening, like, you're not weak for feeling things. You're not weak for being sad. You're not weak for crying.
Hello, and welcome back to AYP Spike. I'm Adam, AYP consultant and primary program co-lead, and I'm joined today by my other primary program half, Andy Feast, the wonderful Andy Feast.
Oh, that's a very nice introduction. Thank you. Happy to be here again. Feels like we are doing these every week. It's because we are doing these every week. So
there's a reason it feels like
there's
that.
a reason for that. Yeah. So happy to be here like always, and let's do some brain science, baby.
Let's do some brain science, baby. Yeah, I felt bad for always calling you a lad and a geezer, even though they are very accurate things. I thought, okay. I want to call you wonderful because you are wonderful.
That's right. I've been called much worse. So.
Oh, okay. Right.
And geezer's quite sweet.
I won't call you those things.
Yeah. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah. So, before we get into the meat of the brain science today, we need to discuss some very important things. We just need to do a quick letting everyone know that you can actually now watch this podcast.
Yeah.
You can see our faces.
Yeah.
And you can have that thing that people might have had before, where you have an idea of what someone looks like from their voice, and then you can be thoroughly disgusted by the fact that that is not what we look like. So in the show notes, you can find the link to the YouTube page and the Instagram page. The YouTube page, full episodes are on there, so you can just literally watch us. It's literally just us in a room talking.
For sure.
It's not going to blow your mind. It's nothing crazy exciting. But if you are someone who likes a little bit of a visual for your podcast, I personally am. It's there. It's there for you. I'm looking at the camera now. It's there for you.
And for those of you that are watching this, I know what you're thinking. Why is Andy wearing a Halfords polo? And the reality is,
it's a great
the grey and orange. I didn't realise until someone kindly pointed out. You look like you're on Halfords.
What is that?
There's nothing wrong with
girlfriend?
That. What do you think? There's nothing wrong with that, but he's
just a working class man.
It's giving Sainsbury's.
It's giving Sainsbury's. Can you help me with my nectar card prices, please?
Yeah, it is a bit like that, and it's not that comfy either. Sorry, I've just ruined it. It's just a sponsorship deal.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well. Damn it! We wanted that Sainsbury's sponsorship.
Yeah, didn't we just? Yeah,
so, good food for all of us.
How's your week been, my man? What's been going on?
Yeah, it's been good, thanks. Yeah, it's been alright. It's been a really nice. We're recording this on Friday the 3rd. It's been really nice weather until today, and it's suddenly gone really bad. So that's always good.
The driving this morning was not to moan about.
Sogalicious.
Not to moan about commutes, but
no, this is
horrible
good.
Things.
This is man of the people stuff.
It is. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that sort of. Yeah, obviously we're used to working from home.
Yeah.
Obviously when we go and deliver in primaries, that's quite a lot of travelling.
Yeah.
I just despise it. Absolutely despise it.
If
I'm honest,
I quite really like travelling in the rain.
You are. Well, not just our resident neuroscientist, you are our resident taxi driver as well. You will drive us to the primary programs because I can't face it really.
I think you're much better than you give yourself.
I live in Southampton and we record this in Brighton, so I come down for it. Obviously.
Yeah, if anyone knows anything about the roads between Southampton and Brighton.
We could do a whole another series on the
disgusting
M27, but
yeah, exactly.
We won't bore you too much with that. But it's I'm not a fan of it. But that's that ties into I feel angry about it, and you'll find out why that ties in.
That's good stuff. Okay, hold that thought, hold that anger. That's really good. As well as the Instagram, we now have a TikTok. So it's just Andy doing the Charlie XCX Apple dance.
That's all it is.
Every week. Well, constantly, mate. It's going to be good fun. Follow us there and subscribe to us on those platforms. And you can see our faces and join in. And speaking of joining in, we've had some listener correspondence about last week. Just a couple mentions. So we've got this running thing now that Andy said he wanted to be funnier. So we've got a review. I think you did a good job last week. I had some good laughs. Some good laughs and
skeptical.
So I've got a correspondence. Doesn't say the name. I think I laughed out loud about 3 times last week, Andy. So you're doing okay, mate?
You know what? whoever you are, Anon, thank you.
Anon. We love Anon.
We do. And that feels, I just feel like it might have been my mum.
Maybe. I don't reveal my sources.
Yeah, so that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
and I think we really want to, we're doing a big push on this podcast, and we really want our listeners and people watching to get in touch with any issues and anything we can help with, any questions they have, all those sorts of things.
Send us fully serious things, like
100%.
a specific issue you want us to talk about, or kind of an idea to add on to what we talked about, which we'll talk about, or send us silly stuff, you know, joke about Andy's Halford's job, I don't mind. Just get in touch. We want this to, we are here talking today, but we also we're talking to you, and we want you to talk back, otherwise it's a bit of a weird three-way friendship where we're just chatting. Come and get involved, as it were, with the show. Okay, finally to the brain science bit. Only 5 minutes into the podcast. Brain science, finally here. Today we're going to talk about emotions and how to manage emotions. I normally lead the start, but Andy, do you want to give us a brief rundown on what an emotion is? Because it's probably quite, the listeners are going, okay, I know what an emotion is. I'm happy, sad, Okay, so what is it?
Well, fundamentally, they're a little bit more complex than one might imagine. For those listeners that are maybe in primary school, secondary school, beyond, parents, carers, teachers, emotions are so multifaceted. Okay, they are how we respond. They're how external environmental things take place, and it's how we feel about those things. And they are basically essentially what emotions are, and they manifest themselves in a multitude of different ways. We don't always just feel one emotion at any given time. We can feel multiple all the time. It's so no one size fits all, which I guess when you look at it from the science perspective is quite a challenge, because there isn't one fix on when you are angry, sad, all these challenging emotions that all of us feel at any given moment. They are difficult to try and self-regulate, and we do a lot about self-regulation. But our ability to stay present, stay calm, stay mindful when we are sad, angry, is a massive step towards positive self-regulation. And I just think, this episode is fundamentally about how we can sort of feel these negative emotions take over, and how we can prevent that, how we can accept it, deal with it in healthy ways, and how we can move past them.
100%.
And, one of our key points, action potential, is the power of talk, the power of discussion, the power of honesty, transparency, vulnerability. I think it's something that needs to be said, especially in the age we live in today. Young men, I'm not trying to alienate our female listeners out there, but young men need to feel like they can talk about their emotions, and that we've been brought up in a society, and we'll go on to this more later, where young men feel like the only way they can emote is through anger. And that's like the only socially acceptable way to communicate or respond to difficult things that happen in your life. We're here, as well as a lot of positive movements out there that are saying, no, all right, that's just not the way we need to do things anymore. Young men out there listening, like, you're not weak for feeling things. You're not weak for being sad. You're not weak for crying. Boys can cry too, men can cry, and that's not a sign of weakness. But, we've been brought up in a way that says, get on with it, get your head up, keep going, just power through. And that's not what needs to happen these days. We can take a moment, chat with your mates. What's going on, pal? Like, what's happening to you? And having the self-awareness to be able to open up is really powerful. And that's a real surefire way to regulate your own emotions, because it's something that's difficult. And Adam will go into it, but our ability to manage and control these emotions is something you will embark on, as I say in most of these podcasts. This is a journey you will keep.
I should get like these things on a soundboard.
You should.
Like Andy's saying, a journey you embark on your whole life. Just you say it for you.
Just insert it in every episode, because it's true though.
Like a sample.
It's true. It's what happens. It's the journey of self-growth and discovery. We will continually. You don't stop trying to get better. Exactly. You don't stop trying.
It's not
to
like
improve.
on Wednesday next week you're done. That's it. That's me. That's my self-improvement done.
You do some of these coping strategies we're going to give you for a week, and then you put them away and be like, I don't need to look at them again. I've got this nailed. Like, that's not the reality. The reality is we need to do this stuff all the time, literally all the time.
And yeah, not to jump into like, well, this is a topic we'll cover in another episode, but like do the well-being stuff when times are good, so that when times are hard, you've got it already nailed in. It's 100%. Quite difficult when you're already struggling. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's, whatever position you're in right now, making these changes now will really help you, and stuff like that. But yeah, so as continuing on the soundboard theme, things I always say is emotions will feel like a full body experience. Again, anger is not just something you have in your head. Let's stick with anger, as we were talking about that already. I don't just feel angry in my head. It's not like a thought, is it? It's a full body experience, I always say.
Yeah.
But so what is happening there? So there's a couple concepts I want to talk about here, and there's quite a complicated bit of brain science. This is my fact bomb I was excited to drop in this episode. So the place in your brain that registers physical pain. So if I shoved Andy and knocked him over and he grazed his knees, he'd be in pain, yeah? Obviously. And he might be, might need to go to the school nurse or whatever, or to the hospital, depending on how hard I shoved him. The part of the brain that registers that pain, that physical pain, is the exact same part of the brain that will register if I was then mean to Andy as well.
Yeah.
Emotionally mean. Just said, you smell, mate.
Yeah.
That same part of the brain is called the anterior cingulate cortex. It is the exact same part. Your body and your brain and your mind, as a result of those two things, do not know the difference between emotional pain, someone being mean to you, and physical pain.
It's such a good bit of brain science, let me tell you. But why that's so powerful is because when we talk about, okay, let's go to the extreme here, like heartbreak and heartache. Like when perhaps you've lost someone, okay? We'll do episodes on grief and how to cope with grief, because that's a whole different ballgame, really. But when you lose someone, or you're going through a difficult breakup, all these sorts of things, that can feel physically painful, can't it? You can just sort of feel like a hernia in your heart, and your stomach feels all over the place.
Yeah, that's why this stuff doesn't just feel like it's in your head.
Exactly, like Adam said, there are full body experiences, and that's obviously the extreme, those sorts of cases. But to a lesser extent, but still relevant, when someone is not very nice to you.
Yeah, you're just having not a good day.
You
feel fully like down, don't you?
You physiologically will just feel worse for it. Which is why when we talk about the holy trinity of well-being, which is our social health, physical health, and mental health, those three things, that obviously we speak about them as a three because they go hand in hand. If you neglect one of them, the others will suffer, and so on and so forth. That's why it's so important. And when we're coaching and going into schools and talking with our clients, we make such a big point of physical, mental, social health. Look after all three of them with as much gusto as you can, because you need them to function in the world where, sometimes it's quite hard to.
Exactly. The reason that it matters that emotional pain and physical pain are registered in the same place, because we need to shift how we understand emotions. We need to not understand emotions as, this is I feel like this. You need to sit above it and this is going to be a weird tangent, so trust me on this and see it through to the end. We need to see emotions as information, as a product of a change that our brain is dealing with, and that emotions are a byproduct of that change. So, for example, I'm mean to Andy. Andy is now upset by it, and the emotion that's going to flood in is probably upset. That might also, as we said earlier, kind of bleed into anger, bleed into other emotions, negative emotions like that. That is a response from there being a change in how Andy perceived I was going to be to him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is why the emotions are a byproduct of that. And what we need to start understanding is those emotions are information, they're data that we can use to understand why we feel a certain way about something. So if we try and sit above that emotion and realize, the first thing to do when you feel angry, when you feel sad, is to try, when you realize you feel angry and sad, and like we said, you don't always realize you feel angry and sad, you just are. Yeah. Sometimes you're just sad and you don't even know you're sad. You just kind of are down, you feel a bit worse for wear. So, some days when we'll be podcasting, we'll probably not be at our best, just because that's just something that happens sometimes. I might not even realize it. And some of our listeners today, when this goes out, it's a Monday. Mondays are always a bit of a tough day for quite a few folks because it's start of the work week again. It's, lots of stresses and strains of going back to work and all that stuff. And you might just feel not quite up to it and you might not even realize that. But if we can notice, oh, okay, I feel sad or I feel upset or I feel angry, or again, a mixture of things, we need to try and get back into those. We talk about all the time at AYP about being metacognitive, which is this idea of understanding the processes our brain is undertaking at any moment and learning kind of what that means for us, because each of our brains are different, and then how to manage those things and things we can do to affect that feeling so we don't necessarily feel it anymore, manage those worries, like in the worry system we talked about last week. So if we notice we're feeling a certain emotion, try and, okay, I'm feeling sad right now. Why am I feeling sad? Try and investigate that feeling. Because also, it's worth saying here, sometimes you feel sad for literally no reason whatsoever. You feel happy for no reason whatsoever. That's a good thing, and that's nice to feel happy for no reason whatsoever. But sometimes you just feel like that. But because I'm bringing another concept in here. These are all concepts where, like, in 10 weeks' time, you'll have to track back for these because they're important. Our body and our brain build our mind every day. Like a projector projects an image. Our mind is a product of our body and brain. And in our next episode, which you'll hear next Monday, we're going to talk about the 12 well-being behaviors and a bit more about this concept. But basically, the mind we get to live inside, and the mind is the bit you are in control of, basically. To really simplify it, the conscious you, the you that's listening to this podcast, that's chosen to listen to this show, for example, that's your mind. That part of your brain is a product of what you've done with it the last 24 hours. So that's your well-being behaviors. That's, that's the exercise you've done. That's also the food you've eaten. So sometimes we feel like emotions are information. So if we haven't eaten, then we might, who's got hangry before? Because we just haven't eaten. So we need to try and, if we feel a certain emotion, try and investigate the cause of that emotion, because the emotion isn't kind of the end product. The emotion is an information about something our brain is either lacking or needs or has achieved, if that makes sense. So if you're happy, it's because something's made you happy.
Yeah.
If you're sad, something's made you sad. Let's figure out what that sadness is. And if, that sadness sometimes is something we can do nothing about. Sometimes it's something we can try and talk to our friends about, try and investigate that, as opposed to just sitting in that emotion if we can. Because then it just makes us more miserable. Because if we're just sad for no reason and we can't get out, it's like, I'm sad for no reason, don't talk to anyone about it, we find it harder to then get out of that emotion and trying to get out of sitting in that kind of puddle of sadness, anger. And then it starts to spread into more things. And I'm sure we've all been there where, we feel a bit sad in an evening after kind of school work, and then our mates are all going out and we're like, I can't be asked for that today. Yeah. Sometimes that's fine. Take a bit of time for yourself, self-care, soloing, having a bit of TV show on your own is great. But then what can also happen is we allow our emotions to dictate our kind of situation so much that we then don't do the thing we need to do to try and get out of that emotion, to distract us. Because how many times have you been like, I don't want to go to that event? You go anywhere and you have a fantastic time and you're super glad you went. Happens to me all the time. Yeah. And it's like, that's part of why being metacognitive is so important, to sit above our emotions and go, I don't have to feel like this. Let's try and figure out why I feel like this and figure out how to stop feeling like this. Definitely. And obviously, in each situation you feel a certain thing, it's going to be different, the reason why you feel that. Sometimes it's going to be for no reason whatsoever. Sometimes it's going to be a real reason. And, there's no easy way out of that emotion and that tricky feeling. But there's always a way that we can act in that moment, if that's talking to someone, if that's doing our well-being behaviors, that we can make ourselves feel better and we can know we're acting on it. Because crucially, our brain is an action-oriented organ. It wants to do stuff. Yeah. It likes doing stuff. It likes being busy. So if you're upset and sad, one of the best things you can do is just do something. Do your well-being behaviors. Hang out with your mates, play a game, do something you love. That is really the reason why that feels good when we're sad. It's because it releases hormones in our brain and our body that make us feel better. So we need to, but if we sit above those emotions and investigate them, it means we're more likely to be able to understand where these emotions are coming from and then act to change them.
Perfect. Look at that. That is some monologue, people. And this is free. Who'd have thunk it, mate?
Unless you want to pay.
Yeah. So
I'll take a tenner.
He sums it up so beautifully, but
thanks, Andy.
Without blowing smoke up, where. But the thing is, what he said about the sort of, we don't have to sit in this puddle of despair and misery is so apt, because all right, this is where not one size fits all, but in my experiences, and we want to bring some of mine and Adam's personal experiences into these podcasts, and I think it's poignant to do so. We know we need to practice what we preach and be open and honest and vulnerable. So we're going to start doing that for sure. So from my experiences, when I'm down, when I'm low, if I don't know what's got me in that place, 9 times out of 10, if I start talking, if someone picks up on your change of mood or change of behaviour, and they ask and they keep asking, they're persistent, and you're trying to shove them off, and then it gets to a point where you're like, okay, well, yeah, I am being a bit off. Why is that? And then you just start opening up, start talking. 9 times out of 10, you will start to come up with the ideas and the thoughts that you are feeling that are making you feel so low. So it's almost like you're coming to consciousness about how you feel. And you can know that you're in a darker place in one day than another. But, well, why is that? Well, I don't know. Well, start talking about it. And that often comes to light as to why you're feeling so low. And this is why that doesn't work for everyone, but for myself and for other people that I know and talk to, even if you don't start off knowing why you feel a certain way, by the time you talk through stuff, whatever that stuff is, because we've all got stuff, let's be honest, you will get to a point and a conclusion at the end where you're like, oh, well, that's why I feel rubbish. And it almost validates that. It's like, okay, I had it so much in the past where I almost feel sad for feeling sad. Yeah, so it's like I'm down because I'm down.
Yeah,
and I'm annoyed at myself for like, why am I down? Like, get a grip of yourself.
Like,
come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the thing I was talking about earlier, like, nothing's happened to me. Why do I feel sad?
Exactly.
And, and then some people will really quite unhelpfully go, there are people who are in worse positions than you shouldn't feel sad. And it's like, but I don't mean to feel sad. I just do.
For sure.
And that's a fine feeling.
Of course it is.
But you also need to know that you don't have to just, there are things you can do that will take you out of that feeling. But also know that, no matter how much you try, you are going to feel sad sometimes. Not necessarily for any reason, but also change is happening. It's going to happen throughout your lives. You're going to feel happy about lots of those changes, sad about lots of those changes, upset, angry. These things are all going to happen all the time. So we need to build in an understanding of what these feelings are. Understand that emotions are basically our first pass at a response. They are the body's kind of physiological immediate response to a change, to some event in our lives. And we can sit above those emotions and notice them whilst they're kind of forming, and then, control them a bit better. Because obviously some emotions, sadness is upsetting for the person involved, but some emotions are far more damaging, not only for yourself, but also for the people around you. If you're angry, you are more likely to lash out at people, to be maybe more verbally aggressive towards people, and maybe even physically aggressive towards people. And that it's not helping you in that moment. But you've got to understand it's because your brain is physiologically reacting to something. And again, like we mentioned last week, our brain, as I think Andy so fantastically said, our brain is, a caveman's brain in a 21st century head. This thing was not evolved to deal with email and SATs tests. It evolved to fight saber-toothed tigers on the savannah and other tribes, So the reason you feel angry and aggressive is the brain's automatic response, but that doesn't help us in today's day and age. In 99% of the problems you're going to face every single day, the worrying things that you have to solve, the things that are going to make you angry, the things that are going to make you upset, and not things that fight, flight, freeze are going to help you solve at all. So we need to install that level of self-awareness to sit above those emotions and go, okay, I feel angry about this. Instead of just letting that anger fester, I'm going to talk to someone about it so it escapes and I can, articulate that feeling and emotion. And also I'm going to do something about it. I'm not just going to sit on that anger and be angry at people, because it's going to tarnish my friendships, it's going to tarnish my relationships, my family and loved ones. It's going to make it harder for me to actually get what I need in that moment, that's why you need to investigate it, to figure out why you're angry, why you're upset, and what you actually are needing in that moment.
Definitely. And we can't let ourselves in our worst moments, as Adam said, tarnish our relationships, because that social health is so important. So why, when we're at our worst, would we try and burn the bridges we have built when we're at our best? It doesn't make sense. It's not a helpful thing. Professional relationships, social relationships, these are the foundations to which we can be happy. So in anger and in sadness, it happens all the time. We lash out at the ones closest to us. And we don't have to do that. We don't have to live our lives like that. I always say this to our clients, and we'll bring in some of our clients and in a broad sense, some of the issues that they're facing with emotions and self-regulation. But in those moments of anger, and we always say this to our clients, and when we go in primary schools, and I think even, God love them, the year sixes roll their eyes at my cheese and cringe when I say that what I want us to do.
They do roll their eyes.
They definitely do. What we want, and how I sometimes wrap up our sessions and our workshops and our lectures, is I say, if you can take one thing from the session, if everyone in this room, including Adam and I, try and make the little corner of our world a happier, better place, then you're not going to go that far wrong. And what I mean by that is, don't be taking out your rubbish, your garbage, your deep down hurt and anger for your life's experiences negatively affect the ones you care about and the wider society around you, because that deep-rooted anger has a negative cloud and will just spread. If I'm mean to Adam, he gets upset, he's angry, he'll go home, he'll be angry to his partner, so on and so forth. And it's just something that we just don't need to do. So yes, it's okay to feel sad, but let's not let that turn into anger, and let's not allow that to fester in such a way where we are just being a misery for everyone else, and it puts them in horrible moods.
Exactly.
Learn to take yourself away from those points and deal with it in a more healthy, sustainable way.
100%. And we are such social creatures. This is a fantastic kind of moment to end on. Emotions affect all of us in complex ways that we don't always understand. So all of us need to install this kind of medical condition to understand why we feel a certain way. So for example, judges, if they are pre-lunch, let less people out on parole than after lunch, because they haven't had lunch yet. So they're probably a bit tired, a bit frustrated, a bit hungry, and that hunger will manifest in anger, maybe a bit of frustration. I'm not less likely to believe this case. It's just proved in the data. We don't understand that though. Very few of us will notice all the time, oh, I'm hungry. That's why I feel like that. And that's why I'm making the decisions that I am, because we're kind of ruled by, we're just going down those pathways. We're like, okay, I'm going to do this now. We don't sit back and think, okay, why am I thinking like this right now? Why is this a result of this thing happening? So this affects all of us. And those emotions will manifest themselves in really complicated ways due to really confusing situations that might have happened to us in the previous day that we have to try and investigate them. So we just have to, that kind of mental hygiene of looking back at our experiences, at our current experiences, and going, okay, why do I feel like this? And then what can I do about that experience? And what emotion am I feeling about that? That's really important. And as Andy said, why it's so important is because these things spread. If I'm mean to Andy, he's going to be in a bad mood. He might take that bad mood home, then be a bit more curt with his partner, and then she'll be upset, and then she'll be, and then that upset, anger, those negative emotions spread. But the powerful thing is those positive emotions spread. There's nothing. One of my favorite feelings in the world, this is such a sad thing, is letting people go when you're driving and they give a little wave. I love that. I love that feeling. I feel fantastic.
And if often,
exactly. When they don't, anger has spread into my system. But when they go, oh, thanks, mate. Thanks for letting me go. I love that. And the little flash when it's too dark to see that. I love that. I love that so much.
It's a little thing.
Kindness spreads.
It does.
Holding the door open for someone is a lovely thing to do. And then they might like to be kind to someone else. That kindness ripples out, and actually it ripples out. There's a thing called an R value, which is the reproducibility of it. It's often used when talking about diseases and stuff. Like COVID has quite a high R value. I can't tell you the exact R values because I'm not that much of a nerd, but kindness has a higher R value, which is kind of reproducibility, spreadability, than negative emotions of anger and hate. So try and transform those emotions and understand that if you're angry, that is going to spread. But if you're angry, that is going to spread. But if you're kind and nice, that is also going to spread. As much as possible as well. And you don't know who needs to know the kindness. I think that's all the time. People are struggling with so many things all the time. Difficult lives. Everyone has a difficult life. Maybe not now, but at some point. And they are all around you all the time. And you never know what someone's going through in that moment. So being as kind to everyone as you possibly can at all times is just a really way of trying to spread that joy, because you don't know, someone might really need it that day because you have no idea what's going on in their lives. Because they might be physically, emotionally struggling with something massive.
but they're walking around smiling, laughing.
Is it because they've got to get on with it?
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's what you need to remember, people, and we're going to wrap it up. But you have to remember that you can't always tell with people. Strangers passing in the street, like that bit of kindness, that goes a million miles.
I'm not saying chat to them.
No,
I don't do that.
Head down, headphones on. But to just have a bit of compassion and a bit of empathy in today's world is just going to just elevate everyone's mood. And we're not saying we're going to fix the world by smiling at everyone, but
let's give it a try.
Just that kindness and that sort of a bit of compassion and a bit of thoughtfulness in actually going, you know what, they might be struggling. That's why they might be taking it out on me, and that's what we're trying to prevent, really. But being a bit more understanding of everyone else, and every single one of you listening has stuff going on. No one doesn't have stuff. It's just not how life works. So process it, deal with it, talk about it, and be kind to yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself all the time, because you're doing all right. Yeah, just keep going.
Exactly. And it's okay to feel how you feel, but it's not okay to not manage those things. And the thing is, I can't, Andy and I, we really want to help. We really want to help people to learn more about the stuff, not just because it's our jobs, but also because genuinely it's changed our lives.
Yeah, massively.
This stuff has changed how we think about ourselves and how we interact with people in our own lives. But we can't do it for you. We can help, and this is what we're trying to do with this podcast. But I can't make you, theoretical listener, less angry or sad about something. But you can act on that thing. What you need to understand is, back to the thing we always talk about, is your brain can change. And if you're never stuck unless you kind of choose to be. You can always install a system of self-awareness, metacognition, try and take actions to change those things. And actually, in next week's episode, we're going to talk about the 12 rocks of wellbeing, like really in detail, to talk about, because these are the behaviors that can really help you do that stuff. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Let us know how Andy did in terms of funniness today. I think good job. I think Andy's a funny guy. His brain changes and it gets funnier. So we'll see. But yeah, remember to check us out on Instagram and smash that subscribe button on YouTube. I've always wanted to say that. I can finally say it. I've got a YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe button. And I don't know, when we get to 1 million subscribers, we'll do a giveaway of something. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out a giveaway at some point. But yes, thank you so much for listening. Check us out in the show notes and email me, adam@aypuk.com, with notes on the podcast. Anything funny you want to say? Give us a joke. I'm so happy to have jokes from the audience where I just read out terrible jokes. Just get involved, because it's not just me and Andy chatting here in an echoey room in Sussex Uni. It's trying to bring more people in. So yeah, thank you so much for listening today.
Let's do it. Thank you very much.